everybody? What up, Shockwave? What up, Kenya? What up, Jello? What up, Anthony? What up, Aid up north? Good evening, yo, Shockwave. I got your email. I literally just finished work. What's up, Lost Brooklyn? The Great White North. It's steamy today. Damn, it's cooking right now, but got a beautiful ass moon in the blue evening sky. Figured I'd go live real quick for an evening stream. See how long we go. It was a fun one last night, for sure. West Brooklyn, glad you're making it. More Jello. See you later. Let me know if the audio and the visuals are sounding and looking good. I want to talk about Mari Crisium tonight. What's up, Mary? You can see Mari Crisium at the top right, 2 o'clock, 2:30 position, and that is looking distinctly hexagonal. Also got Mari Humorum, which is in the center. Again, another geometric structure. And we could even look at Proclus in the area to the left of Mari Crisium. Serenity, Tranquility, Fecunditatis, Langrenus, and yeah, it's looking really nice. So I'm gonna collect my drink and my smoke. I'll be right back. Settle in. There's a bit of atmospheric distortion, but it still looks really clear. Just did the zoom in on Katharina and made sure this focus is sharp. What up, Cleary? And yeah, check out the blue sky. Still kind of, the sun is still setting here. So if I turn up the ISO and open the shutter a bit, you can see that kind of cool blue disappearing. And also a little bit of the dark side of the moon. Awesome looking Terminator tonight. Look at that detail. Also got Jupiter coming up. You can see it a little bit from behind the clouds. star at the very top left corner of your screen, if that's actually, it looks like it might be going behind the moon. So that'll be a good example of showing how, even though you have the Earthshine portion, that you can't see through the moon. Let's see if that happens. Mary says, someone mentioned turning metal into plasma. That's kind of broad, actually. I'm not sure who's the someone, and I don't know if I've heard of metal turning into plasma, although maybe everything is plasma, so metal is just a form of that, but I think I need a little bit more detail, or maybe Shockwave can jump in. I haven't heard of that. Look at that really awesome trio formation of craters at the very top of the moon, kind of eating into the Terminator. I'm pulling up my atlas right here so we can make sure what those features are called. And keep an eye on that star on the left. I'll tell you what that is momentarily. We got a 42.2% waxing crescent, coming up 48 degrees, 43 degrees altitude. And, okay, 6 days old. Let's see if that star is listed. Yeah, there it is. HIP 69823. It's a magnitude 6. And it looks like it's getting a bit closer. Those craters up top, the 3 rings, are I want to say it's Aristoteles, Eudoxus, and Alexander. Looks a little strange, but I'll zoom in a bit and we'll see them close up. I think what I've heard about electric discharge turning, carbon-based life forms into stone or acrylic. What were the other things? The little blueberries, apparently on Mars, or the blueberries that are formed after an electric discharge. That might be some sort of transmogrification of elements or some sort of alchemy. Maybe that's where it referenced. Yeah, right, exactly. Thanks, Shockwave. It says, no, but Project Sapphire made elements that were not there before the experiment started. Yeah, so if you look at the SAFIRE, Sapphire, which I think I have in the links, but I'll find it right now. Sapphire Project did a whole breakdown on their updates in the laboratory, and they test for different elements left over in the vacuum when they're doing plasma experiments, and you'll see that it creates a whole bunch of different new elements that weren't there, or elements that were there but were transmutated. So it is really fascinating. I think, but definitely that metal story, I guess I haven't heard. I'll find the Sapphire video real quick. I'm gonna drop the link in for y'all. So that's plasma experimentation in the laboratory at a very high level. And really, if there were so many more of these laboratories doing experiments like this, then things would change much more rapidly. There'd be a lot more interest, I think, in Electric Universe. Yeah. So now I can see those craters a little more clearly. They are on the edge of Mare Serenitatis, so it is Aristoteles and Eudoxus at the top. Good. All right. I feel like there are some satellites passing as well. Did I just screw up on the little star? I think I did, but let's check if it's still there. Yeah, I'm going to take a moment here to show this rare opportunity to grab this close. So there's that star I mentioned about to disappear behind the limb of the moon. And we can look for ourselves and see if it's visible. What's going on, Buttercup? Welcome. Yeah, you're welcome, Mary, of course. I finally watched Ben Davidson, Suspicious Observer's Plasma Cosmology video. I think Eat All Your Fish referenced it yesterday, or Duplicat, and it's actually pretty good. Anthony Peratt, and a whole bunch of different examples of scientists contemporarily talking about their beliefs in plasma cosmology and how current paradigms don't really work and haven't really been proven correct. But then at the same time, you have popular science in the media and of course government programs looking for these really strange things like exoplanets or the gravitational waves and dark matter, never really finding anything. But it seems like there are people who are serious about science, who do take astrophysics and plasma cosmology seriously. So yeah, it was very good. Not many views, unfortunately, but at least a step in the right direction. And finally, I think it's one of those things where even the people who know the electric universe stuff, it takes a lot of watches and a lot of thinking to really have it sink in. Every time you watch one of those videos, you get it a little bit more, and things become a little bit more clear. So I think Ben had a little bit of that. So I know I'm taking up some time here, but almost there. Yeah, glad you made it, Buttercup. I tried to go on a little bit early tonight. Some people complain that I go live way too late. It's usually due to the moon cycle or weather. Tonight I happen to have a clear view. Let's quickly see the wide shot of this. Take a snapshot. Look at that. It's a couple of stars, actually. I kind of love this. You normally see this at like the waning crescent really early in the morning. The moon coming up with Aldebaran and a bunch of other stars in tow. But this is on our waxing crescent. out. So I haven't confirmed it, but it seems to me like it looks like the fourth moon, but I think it's just a star. And I feel like one of the moons is actually in front of Jupiter. So I see a lightning storm coming in pretty hard from the east right now. And I'm just gonna make sure I take a quick look at Jupiter before, in case it actually starts to rain. So, am I wrong? No, I'm wrong. Damn, it is. So I thought that was a star, but it's actually Callisto, and it's glowing very dimly tonight. And I feel like, I don't think I've ever really seen it that way. But I could be wrong. So anyway, from left to right, Callisto, Ganymede, and then you got Europa on top of Io. So Europa left, Io right, and then Jupiter, of course. No great red storm, I don't think, at least. And yeah, Callisto is ever so dim. I feel like it's just very far away from us. Typically they're all the same brightness. So what's up, Ellie? How's it going? What up, Fresh 75? Evening to everybody. I see a few people just joined. Hope you're doing well. Just quickly zipped over to Jupiter. What's up, Carolina Sky Astronomy? How you doing, brother? Really cool formation. And like I said, I feel like Callisto all the way on the left is extremely dim. I mean, you can see, I'm actually seeing the screen preview, and it's very noticeable. So anybody who actually like is, I guess all of y'all are pretty much my regulars, so am I going crazy tonight? Or is it just dimmer than usual? Are they just clouds? It's crazy. Yo, what up, Super Must See? Welcome. And then just before this, had I was showing that star going behind the moon, and I just stayed on it for a couple of seconds because there's really not much more to show. But yeah, like once it disappears behind the moon, even when you have the dark side or the earth shine, it certainly is not translucent or see-through. Let's try and make sure we understand what we're seeing. I'm trying to do my part there. Let's enjoy some music. I'm going to play this one back. I like this track. It's called Oh Funk. was a little bit of Jupiter. I just want to get back to the moon while we still got a clear sky. It just finally got kind of pretty dark out, so no more blue hue. It's looking pretty dim, and there's a tiny bit of haze. But I want to show Mare Crisium because it's really a great indicator of geometry. Really simple proof that we can all do. I'm showing it here, but of course you can get a telescope or probably even a high-powered binoculars. Take a look at Mare Crisium that I'm about to label. So, label is off to the right, but basically this region right here. And what's really crazy is that we see this all the time in different phases and different angles. And this particular phase of the moon, this waxing crescent, we get to see it at a particular angle that actually shows a lot of great geometry. And so I still haven't figured out how to get a piece of like a drawing tool on OBS, but I will. But if you can just do it for yourselves, follow the corners of Mare Crisium and see, like, take the first point as Proclus, which is the very bright white crater to the left of Mare Crisium. Lower the music a bit more. So let me know in the chat room if y'all are seeing what I'm talking about. And then I'm going to zoom in and we can look at it. And I wonder, you know, I definitely looked at it for a while and was like, is my eye tricking me? Am I seeing what I want to see? But no, it's very apparent that you do have very sharp angles and you're getting latticing or hexagonal or, you know, honeycomb cratering or featuring, rather, an Alan Wattsism. Yo, what up, P&K? Thank God for Tampa. Man, I don't know, there's a lightning storm happening to the left of my scope, which is not being caught on camera, but I feel like any second now, but I'm staying clear. It looks really nice. I'm gonna get this drawing tool. I know there is one, but it actually takes a lot of processing power to be able to kind of draw and then erase. It seems like it's simple, but it's not. Any new tunes? Yeah, there's that little jazzy kind of weird thing that I started with. Here's the newest thing. Called Friday Won't End. So that's the newest little piece that I'm working on. It's still very stiff and unproduced, but it's cool. It's a fun jam session to go over. I haven't even laid out any guitar on it, or not much guitar actually. So like I promised, this week I'm putting up new songs on Bandcamp for whoever who didn't hear that yesterday, and for whoever is excited by that. But there will be some new tunes up to get. I didn't have a chance today, but probably tomorrow, the day after. They're all lined up. But let's talk about Mare Crisium briefly. This is really just amazing to be able to just pull up an image of the live moon at 9 o'clock in South Florida and look at geometry. And I feel like almost so silly talking about it because it's so simple. And you even have like this double-lobed feature that we see a lot in the universe, kind of the infinity symbol, or you see this in images of like, you know, I want to say NGC. It's there's the double helix. Just search double-lobed galaxy or nebula, sorry. Double-lobed nebula. I'm going to find an image of that real quick. Every time. Double-lobed nebula. Twin nebula. Bipolar nebula. Okay. M29. That's the one you see in a lot of the space news videos. Just grabbing this link real quick. All right, check out that, and you can take a look. So Mare Crisium looking like a hexagon. You've got Proclus, which is the center, that tiny little crater to the left of it at the mouth. Actually, let me label these. No reason I shouldn't. Oh, Keith says, there's a way to make the cursor visible on OBS if that would help you out. Yeah, that's a great one. How do you do that? Let's see, settings. How can I miss that? Let's see. Show. Oh, make projectors always on top. Hide cursor over projectors. Is that it? Let's see if that worked. Yeah, let me know if you actually have. Yeah, there's Shockwave mentions Halton ARP. Forgive me if I'm all over the place on these shows. It's really so much content to deal with, so keep me on track if I lose place on what I'm talking about. But I will get back to Mare Crisium momentarily. But it's always good to reference Halton ARP, who did an amazing work based on the research of, actually, what was I going to say? I want to find, so Halton ARP stuff is where Thunderbolt's project is talking about all the redshifts and how redshift is really an intrinsic function of these galaxies and quasars, and how redshift is used now to determine distance and expansion in the universe, and how potentially and very likely redshift is actually a function of age and heat. And so galaxies that are highly redshifted are youthful, and then as they get older and expand outwards along the spiral arms of larger galaxies, they cool off and their redshift turns blue. And so this is like a really key piece in talking about expansion of the universe, in terms of the Big Bang, in terms of how we measure expansion and why we think about that. So Halton ARP, I hope I just kind of nutshelled that, but there's so much more, and there are very few videos to really watch. I've referenced him, and I have a lot of links in my descriptions for Halton ARP. So, oh, Keith, try it. Yeah, I don't know, it doesn't look like it's showing up. I did that like show cursor thing, but it's not working. I saw a little program that would work, but it seemed like it was taking a lot of processing power, and I already have like issues kind of streaming sometimes, even though tonight, I'll be quiet and it seems like it's working. So let me get back quickly to the moon footage. So hexagon, Mare Crisium, like one of the largest mares on the moon, one of the most easily visible features on the moon, and indicative geometry. And then Proclus to the left of that, which, okay, now I was going to label that. That's what I was going to do. My tracking is not so great tonight. I thought it was better, but it seems to be drifting. But that's Mare Crisium, and this is Proclus. Yeah, So further, I've always talked about Proclus in addition to Aristarchus as one of those features on the moon that really stands out as a bright white spot pretty regularly. So if you're looking for things like transient lunar phenomenon or, bright spots on the moon, Proclus, this little crater right here, or feature, is that. And you can see these 3 or 4 very pointed rays, R-A-Y-S, coming off of it. And these are things that are very interesting to me. Like, they're not really explained in impact theory. And Electric Universe, you see some of these kind of Lichtenberg figures coming out of lightning bolt hits on the ground, but these are also very ordered. And but you do see kind of, I'm trying to remember it's like sheets of electricity. So when currents come closer together and they merge and they create kind of filamentary sheets, that's what these rays look like. So let's see what's happening in the chat. What the heck? Bottom of the screen by the letter F. Would you close up, please? Mary, was that when I was zoomed out or when? Yeah, let me know. Should I go south? So Shockwave says, yes, redshift is a measure of age and distance. So yeah, I've always looked into that as like, I don't know. I always have my questions about like using light measurements to determine distance just because of what's really happening in terms of light in space. And, whatever is attributed to gravitational lensing now, is light actually not really traveling? How do we perceive light? And I always have those questions. So, it possibly is distance, and it seems likely that Halton Arp was right in determining that it's not just distance, but youthfulness, simply because he really has observational data in addition to understanding the math and physics behind it. So if you haven't looked into Halton Arp, I definitely urge you to do so. So yeah, just commenting on Mare Crisium, Proclus, the double-lobed shape, the infinity sign, the hexagonal nature of Mare Crisium, and the importance of this is really just the fact that we understand planets and moons and objects in our solar system to be cratered by impacts, pretty much only. And every time we get like a little craft that goes to an asteroid or a comet or Ceres or Pluto or Venus, we see all these indications that really defy all expectations of contemporary science. And so the real point here is that if there's hexagonal geometric like fractals on the moon, and we think that the moon is really, all the features on the moon were carved out by impacts over the years, especially really in reference to the NASA Goddard animation where they show the evolution of the moon. It's that 5-minute animation. So people have this idea of giant impacts creating these concave bowls, like impacts where Mare Crisium is. And why it's really hard to believe is that there's such organization in the geometry and the geology of the topographic features of not just the moon, but like particularly here the moon, but Earth and other planets, etc. So that's why this is really important. That's why it's really easy for me to show it to you, and you thereby show it to your friends. There's like real proof of the fact that like the moon needs more discussion, planetary formation needs more discussion and insight, and we need to return to how important the moon was, I guess, to people 50 years ago, if that's what it is. And social consciousness doesn't think the moon's important. It clearly is. All right, let's see what other features besides Mare Crisium. Right above the letter F. So these are those two regions, Mare Marginis and Mare Undarum. And these again are features that, like, if you interpret through electric discharge machining, you can imagine that these regions, these regolith areas, were kind of melted and bubbled over and kind of formed these striated kind of torn regions, just by things oozing out, almost like a mud bath. Halton Arp Yeah, Shockwave says Halton Arp's book, Seeing Red, is what you need to read. That's a great book. There are so many books. I've just been listening, creating Google Docs and such. Reginald Roberts, what's happening? Cool. It's getting hotter by the second because I'm getting passionate about this discussion. So lots of interesting formations, Mari and Darum. Let's go down, take a look at Langrenus crater. Turn on a tiny bit of music in the background. I'm missing it. There we go. Mari Smythe. And this is this darker region that houses Messier A and B, which another particular feature with long parallel rays that come out. This is Mari fecunditatis. All right, Mary, I'm going to try and stay in one place right now. Got Mari fecunditatis dead center on screen. Now tell me where you want me to go. Let's see. Shockwave says the moon was captured by the Earth around 2300 BC, so let's say about 4,500 years ago. You know, I was listening to the Electric View show again today, and they were saying that really thinking, you know, it gets very sketchy around 4,000 years, and I pretty much agree. Anything around like 4,000 to 10,000 years ago, like it's really hard to gauge whether any of that history is accurate. As much as I'd like to believe the records are interpreted correctly, I don't know for sure. At top screen center. Okay, so this is going into Sea of Tranquility, and there's kind of interesting crater with a ring of, that's actually Posidonius, I think. I'm gonna double check that. Nope, it's not. It is Taruntius. It's got that kind of Posidonius looking shape, but it's actually, yeah, Catena Taruntius, going from essentially what is Mari fecunditatis into Mari tranquillitatis, so into Sea of Tranquility. I think that's what you're referencing. Shockwave says, our myths are history, my friend. Yeah, I do agree mostly with that. I just know that there's so much missing from the record, or at least I feel like there's so much missing, so many books and so many writings and that are just kind of locked away from wars and looting, et cetera, that, like, how can you really gauge the stuff that we do have? It feels very limited sometimes. But some days I feel like the myths are completely accurate. Some days I feel like it's a game of telephone where the story gets morphed as it gets passed down. But I really like tying in, you know, symbols of an ancient sky and all the work that David Talbot did and others, you know, who kind of worked on gathering the symbology and showing that symbols were actually things that people saw in the real world, as opposed to just imagining them and just, oh, they were artists, they were artistic, versus like they were really referencing stuff. So I feel like that's very accurate. Now, what that information is, I feel is somewhat limited just because of the way things are. Mary, I think I'm doing such a poor job. I feel like every time you say something, I'm like starting a topic and missing it. So I'm just going to go slowly through all the different features. At the top center screen, it looks like a target center. Actually, yeah, let me zoom in, and I'll just go slowly. There we go. I got this little remote control thinking that it was Wi-Fi, but of course it was a total lie, and it was another not RFID, it was just an RF. Had to be in the line of sight for the remote. I'm like, can they just make a Wi-Fi controller? So Taruntius crater. This is another particular feature that Thunderbolts talks about a lot, and Ralph Jurgens spoke about. Likely Velikovsky, but I never really saw that. However, this is like a large crater with a tiny crater on the rim of it. I mean, the odds of that occurring, and the odds of that occurring preferentially across the moon, is one of those indicators of a crater impacting versus electric discharge machining. Because essentially the idea that an electric arc is creating these craters, it's trying to find, I could be totally wrong about this, like the path of least resistance and or kind of, I guess, high ground or level ground. And it gets to the point where it reaches the rim of the larger crater that it just created and kind of sputters out at that one node point. That's how I visualize it. As from what I've seen from Jacob Gale, I could be completely wrong about that. And Billy Yelverton, that's sort of what happens in the laboratory. You have this kind of plasma arc that floats over the surface for a while. And I think, what is it, like 10, 15 minutes? Or sometimes hours. Of course, this is tiny. And then after a while, you'll get this tiny little crater on the rim as soon as you short it out as a disconnection. So I feel like that is something that can be replicated in the laboratory. It's kind of amazing. Yeah, so this region is pretty incredible. It feels a little bit not as crisp as I'd like. I guess it's just that where it is on the surface, the angle. Let's go up north a little bit and take a quick peek at what's going on with Aristilius, Eudoxus. All right, here's another one with a similar feature that is always kind of referenced in pop sci but never really explained. So craters that have flat floors and then central peaks. And sometimes they have sinuous rills inside, like on the crater floors. So right now, let me just double check. Actually, let me zoom out just for reference. So right here, that's Mare Serenitatis, and then if we zoom in on the rim of Mare Serenitatis, this is Posidonius. This is the one I was referencing earlier. So the difference here being that Posidonius actually also has a central peak, but it also has a tiny little rim crater, and a couple of them. So maybe this was slightly larger discharge, and kind of it sputtered as it left, creating Posidonius. See, these are the thoughts that I have, but yeah, let's go on the hunt for these. This is what I posted. Ralph Jurgens. He was really, I want to say he was a contemporary of Velikovsky, or kind of later Velikovsky years. And Ralph Jurgens put together, the history of the origin of lunar craters, and he talked about this. Damn, it's getting dim, huh? Dang, lots of clouds just moved in. Yep, well, got a quick chance to show it in detail. So those were a couple with what I really want to show. Honestly, Mare Crisium is very detailed, and that's a very clear example of a hexagon, but there's another one, Ptolemaeus, which is a good feature in later phases, like closer to the full moon. Ptolemaeus is very, very hexagonal. It's a large flat crater, and I'm going to do a whole section on Ptolemaeus. Further than that, you got Copernicus crater. That doesn't always look like a hexagon, but on certain phases it does. And what else? There are a few features like that, but I think really, actually I'm looking right now, and you'll see that, actually it's really dark, but in a few we can look at Mare Fecunditatis again, and to the left of that Mare Humorum. Am I right? Mare Nectaris, I'm sorry. Mare Nectaris is almost like pentagonal, like has 5 sides. And it's just crazy to me. It's like, can you imagine like how many years really looking at the moon so many times and filming it and never really considering like that these were truly hexagonal features, that the geometry was sharp enough to be defined. So it's incredible for it to just flip overnight and just look at it with new eyes. I wonder if the storm is coming in. I'll be right back. I'm gonna take a look outside. Y'all, I think I'm actually gonna call it. Well, it'll be a short one tonight. Got my point across. I was able to show a really precise piece of information that I wanted to do, so super happy everyone joined tonight. I'm gonna go grab some dinner. It looks like the storm is coming through, so I'm not gonna take any chances with the rain. It's just gonna, like, sometimes it just really just pours in 2 seconds. So I'm gonna clean up, have some dinner, and if it gets clear later, I'll hop on for some Jupiter and Saturn. Otherwise, I'll catch y'all tomorrow, maybe. Have a great day, everybody. Shockwave, great chatting. Carolina Sky Astronomy, Dark Skies Weather, Mary Quite, great to see you. Quite great to see you. Have a nice night. Reginald, peace out. Buttercup, Keith, keep doing it, man. We're doing the work. It's so crazy how few moon streams there are, so you're killing it. I hope you get some dark skies too, man. I know, like, I'm watching the weather in Miami. It's like, I know exactly. So, let's see, who else we got? Buttercup, Cool Light Moon, Tim Martin, MM, Anthony, thank you, Morgello, Kenya, and that's it. Peace out, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your evening. An electric universe to y'all.